Hey everybody, welcome to Shark Scrapper Live, where we're talking about the world of recycling and scrapping from a little bit different perspective. We're looking at big picture things going on in the world and influences that drive the prices and investment in companies that are all spinning around this really weird world that we call scrapping and recycling. It's great to see everybody. Roger, see you scrapping, Scrapping Irish, JR Cat, Cruiser Max, Simon the Celt Scrapper. Great to see everybody. I am happy to see you all here. It is going to be a fun day. We've got a bunch of stuff that we need to talk about today. Here's what we got on the plan. We're going to talk about gold and copper, kind of see what's going on there. They're being a little bit flaky right now. Then we're going to do of course, a safety tip. We're going to talk about one of the telecom boards that I got from that recent traffic control system that I scrapped out. Had a real good question from CU Scrapping about that board, so we're going to dive into that a little bit. Then we're going to talk trash companies for their stocks. And we're going to wrap up talking about what's going on with what's called Section 230 and why it's important to us. Kevin, welcome aboard. Great to see you here. Earl Fowler, great to see you. Hope you're having a good day. Gaz, great to see you here as well. Joseph, welcome. Welcome aboard. All right, so Jose, welcome. All right, so let's get over and talk about what's going on with gold and copper. So we're going to start out over here talking about gold. Now here you see the 24-hour gold chart, and you can see that, we kind of tooling along and we took a little jump here. That's kind of cool. But if you look at the 3-day, but when we look at the 3-day, we see that gold is actually down about 0.12%. Now, let's face it, that's not really a whole lot. In fact, let's see, if we draw a line from here to here, yeah, you can see there, you can see a little bit of a down. You can see a little bit of downtrend going on there. And when we open this up to the 1 week, we see we're down 1%. So when we go to the month, we're down 4%. It's like, what's going on here? But at the 3-month, we're actually up. All right, so what's happened in this last month that is causing, hey, Seth, how you doing, man? That is causing silver to go down, not much, but, well, basically, investors don't know what the Fed's going to do. I mean, this is what's driving a lot of this. You've got the Fed. There are people that are saying that they're going to continue being hawkish. Others saying, no, they're going to ease up. And that has investors, kind of cautious. And so whenever investors are cautious, then you see this kind of going up, kind of going down, but not doing a whole lot of anything. And that's what we see going on with gold here for a while. So it's just sort of tooling along here. I wouldn't get too terribly excited about the fact that it's down a little bit here for the last month, 3 months. Long-term prospect is good, strong for gold. So I would say just be patient. Don't get too excited about it. Now, of course, there are a lot of people that pay attention to the gold to silver ratio. And as you might imagine, with the investor concern about what's going on, not knowing what's going on, that's sort of got the gold to silver ratio kind of just hovering again as well. So, not a whole lot. Gold silver ratio down 0.13 for the last 3 days. Down 0.4 for the last week, up a bit going in, for the month, but not a whole lot, right? I mean, again, up, down, not a whole lot of real activity going on there. So, I would say at this point, we're all in the kind of a wait and see kind of thing going on right now with gold and therefore silver. I see that we've got Simon the Kelch Scrapper. Palladium is under 1400 and platinum is under 950. Nice time to open long positions. Yeah, you know, if you're a palladium or a platinum investor, you might want to go for that. I don't buy platinum and palladium. To me, I just don't understand them the way I do gold and silver. And I got to be honest with you, because I tend to buy hard assets, you know, actual gold and silver rounds or bars. To me, gold and silver are just prettier. So that's why I stick with gold and silver. Let's see. Gaz is saying, hold on to everything for 3 weeks. Let the Fed do their thing and then watch the rise. Just a nervy time with those of us with investments. I hear you, man. I'm in 100% agreement there, Gaz. Just hold tight, okay? Just hold tight. Kevin K, not comfortable enough to buy platinum or palladium myself. Non-monetary metals make me nervous. Yeah, I hear you, Kevin. You know, I'm kind of in the same boat. I mean, I understand how platinum and palladium are used for industrial metals and stuff, but as an investment metal, yeah, I'm sticking with gold and silver. And Cruiser, yes, that's why cats have dropped in price. Exactly. Spot on, man. All right, so let's go ahead and see what's going on with the copper market. So we're back. You know, we're heading over now to Kitco. Remember, I use these charts from APMEX and Kitco. I have done business with both companies. I like to compare the prices when I'm dealing with them. They're both good companies. This is not sponsored content. I just happen to like both companies. So, you know, it's good. If you're going to buy gold, silver, any of these investment metals, those two companies are good places to transact with. All right. So we're over in copper and we're looking at the 24-hour copper, and you can see a little bit of movement here. Overall down. You know me, I don't get terribly excited about a lot of the short-term stuff. 30-day copper spot is had a flat line for a while, and then it dove to another plateau here for a while. Then we see that here's what we just looked at, right? When we were looking at that 30-day chart, we saw this plateau. We saw it go down to this plateau, but it came up from down here. And here's what that looks like, you know, with the history behind leading up to this in the 6 month. Let's get to the 5-year. We see that we had some good tops up here for a while for copper. Oh man, don't do that, dummy. Don't do that. I always hit the wrong button with this thing. I'm going to have to talk with them about the way the buttons are set up. Anyway, you see we haven't gotten back up to this top up here. But if I use the really thick lines, we can cover all that up, right? But we can see we've dropped off from this earlier, from these heights up here. But we're climbing, right? We see we're climbing up from here. So, you know, copper, I'm not real worried, even though it is going down a little bit right now. The reason I'm not worried is when you go look at the 5-year London Metal Copper Warehouse stock levels, we see, as I've talked about on a number of occasions here, we're below going back to November of 2020, we're below the inventory levels for copper stocks. So we are at there just isn't a whole lot of copper out there. And we know that more and more copper is going to get used. So I'm not worried about the copper prices right now. There's going to be some gyrations going on here, but I fully expect that copper is going to start going back up yet again. So if you've got copper, You know, don't be in too much of a hurry to sell. I mean, it's good prices right now, right? We've got some pretty decent prices compared to what we've had for a while, so we can't argue there. Um, so if you have to sell it, you know, I wouldn't feel bad. Here, look, let's go back to the 5-year spot price again, 5-year copper spot. And you can see that we are, look at this, we're up here right now. And we had been dealing with prices that were over here, right? So, you know, we're doing pretty good for copper prices right now. And I think we're going to see copper prices continue to climb. If you look at what's going on in this rise that we've been experiencing lately, you can see that there's a bunch of churn going on here, up, down, and that's normal, right? That happens. So generally the trend is going up, and that's what I expect to see going on for the long term here. So let's see. Wait a minute. Do that. Street copper 11. Number 2 copper has been $3.25 a pound for 3 weeks up here. Yeah, and you know what? I like it when it's kind of stable, right? You know, we don't like the prices going up and down all over the place. It makes it hard to understand what's going on. So a little bit of stability is nice to have. Kevin K, I like melting and casting copper and or aluminum. I don't need to liquidate. I too see copper with a strong future. Lest you need money, hold. Yep, I'm on board with you there, Kevin. I'm on board. Before the last few years, I would find full pickup loads of computers, servers. Now I only find a couple at a time. Yeah, you know, it's kind of a weird time, man. Kind of a weird time. And Simon says, guys, copper would go to $7 to $9 a pound by the summer. Really? All right. Well, that's cool. That's cool. Simon has drawn a line in the sand. I'm going to make a note of it right here. Simon, Celt Scrapper forecasts 7 to 9 per pound by summer. All right, Simon, we're going to hold you to it, man. You wait this summer. We're going to check in on it. All right. Oh, man, that's funny. So we've had some good discussion about gold and copper and the gold silver ratio. We'll keep tracking this. You know, each week we like to talk about one or more of the precious metals and one or more of the industrial metals. So, you know, each week we're going to, you know, take a look at what's going on and try to understand the influences that are out there and what's happening to it. And I think right now in gold, what we're seeing is investor caution. And in the copper world, I think it's a normal reaction for things getting back lined up again and moving along. So a lot of things going on. Now, Gaz brings up another important part that we have to keep in mind here. Just keep in mind the Chinese influence in Peru. You know, one of the things that we really also need to pay attention to is that because China consumes a lot of metals of various types, they have their tentacles out everywhere, dealing with you know, natural resources. So we do need to understand that influence that's going on out there in the broader world challenge of things that happen. And, you know, those influences can drive pricing and drive how much metal is available in the world. So I remain confident that we're going to see better prices in copper. No worries there. Okay, so let's move on here to our safety. Oh, you know what? Before I get to our safety tip, I need to I got to brag on my wife a little bit. She went out today and did a 10K. and she, was this was the little medal that she got for it. The donation funds went to shark research. So this lady has had 2 run-ins with cancer, and yet I think she's in better physical condition than me right now. Matter of fact, I'm pretty sure she could whoop my butt if she wanted to. She's going to the gym sometimes twice a day, and then she's getting out there doing these things. So, got to brag on that lady a little bit. And as I like to tell people, and as I like to say to her, always be yourself, unless you can be a shark, and then you should always be a shark. All right, so safety tip of the day: speed. I'm not talking about the drug. I'm talking about how fast you do things. A lot of people, there's all kinds of little buzzwords out there, right? And there's all kinds of jokes about, the 2 bulls saying, "Hey, let's run down." The young one says, "Hey, let's run down to that herd of cows," and the other one says, "Well, why don't we just walk down there and have a lot more fun?" And speed is one of those things that we always have to keep in balance when we do what we do. If you are driving fast through a neighborhood street scrapping, you might miss things because you're just going too fast to see them, right? Plus, when we're driving through these neighborhoods, they're neighborhoods, right? They're kind of smaller streets. You've got people that might be riding their bikes on the streets, kids that might run between cars and things like that. I had one just the other day. I was driving down the street. I saw a ball roll out between 2 parked cars. Whenever I see a ball roll into the street, I assume there's a kid chasing it. And I remember when I was a kid, I didn't bother looking for cars, right? So I stopped, and sure enough, a kid came running right out. Now, this kid was short. I couldn't see him in the car and from the car until they were already out in the street. So, when we're driving through these neighborhoods looking for scrap, we are looking for scrap. It's easy to get distracted. So slow down a little bit, be safer. You have better time to react if you're going a little bit slower. You're less likely to run into someone or something. You're less likely to miss the scrap that you're out there looking for in the first place. When you're at the scrap yard and you're, waiting for the scale or something like that, yeah, don't be rushing to, try to beat somebody onto that scale and stuff like that. Those kind of things that just lead to people getting hurt. And I mean physically hurt. Emotionally, they might get hurt too. "Oh, you beat me to the scale," but what we're trying to avoid here is physical damage, because nothing is going to slow you down more than hurting yourself or damaging your vehicle, right? So, and then we've all done this when we're actually scrapping, when we're hands-on taking stuff apart, right? We start moving a little bit quick, and the next thing you know, we've cut ourselves. And now we got to stop and go wash it and put a Band-Aid on, or we're getting blood all over the place, And I'm reminded of that Saturday night skit they did of Julia Childs when she cuts herself cutting up a chicken, and there's blood flying all over. Anyway, I digress. But just slow it down a little bit, and overall, you're going to be much more effective because you're going to be paying attention. You're going to be more efficient. And I know that, I've seen these comments on my videos, right? I get these comments. People say, "Oh, you move too slow to be a scrapper. You're never going to make any money as slow as you go," those kind of things. And it kind of cracks me up because, I'm thinking to myself, well, what do you want me to do? Run down the street when I'm carrying this stuff or something like that, So just be a little mindful of your speed, slow it down a little bit, and, enjoy things a little bit more when you're out there scrapping. You don't have to always be rushing all over the place, and it's a little bit safer if you're not rushing all over the place. So, Telecom Board. Some of you have commented on my video that the 2 videos that have come out this week about the traffic management system that I scrapped. I don't know if those would be considered supercomputers or not, but these were vintage, old school computers. The magnetic tape, reel-to-reel things spinning around, major hard disk. In fact, look, this is going to come up this week in a video later on this week, but I want to show you this. This is one of the hard disk packs that I got out of one of the cabinets. 14 inches across. There's 5 discs, weighs about 10 pounds. That was really cool. I had a real good time taking that apart. That video will be out this week. So that gives you an idea of what this was. If you haven't seen this series of video yet, take a look at it because it's really interesting kind of scrap. Now, I got a question from CU Scrapping on this board. So this board, go ahead, Irish. You can take a break. I know you need to chill now again. But anyway, this board, all of these slots on both sides of this board had ICs on them. And by the way, look at the size of these tantalums. All right. So anyway, Roger asked me, what would be the price difference if you took those ICs out and sold them separately as ICs? So I weighed everything up, and the board with all the ICs on it was a Telecom High board, weighed about 3.71 pounds. So that was paying $22.26. Now, when I took all of the ICs off, it, of course, reduced the weight a little bit, but more importantly, it downgraded this to a Telecom Low. So the value of the board now became $12.20. And the ICs had a value of $5.28. So that made the total value $17.48. So it cost me money to take all the ICs off. So Roger, you can send me a check for the difference because I'm not going to put the ICs back on this thing. That's not happening. Real nice board though. There's a lot of cool stuff on this board. I just, the boards that I was taking out of this system were so fascinating as I was pulling them. I certainly didn't mind doing the experiment. I had plenty of those boards that got pulled out of the system. So Roger, no worries. You don't have to send me a check for the difference. I'm cool with it, man. CC DeVille, welcome. Scrap Rodriguez, welcome to the channel. Great to see you all here. Eco Guys, great to see you here too. Welcome aboard. I think I've been picking up everybody as they've come in. If I've missed you, I'm sorry. I will scroll back here real quick. Wannabe Scrapper. I don't think I said hello to Wannabe Scrapper and Katie O'Cack. Hello. I think that covers everybody. I'm trying to be polite and say hi, but don't take offense if I miss you. It's purely accidental. All right. So the important thing about the boards is that you need to not just you need to do the math. And if Roger hadn't asked me to do the math, I probably would not have done the math. I would have just said, no, it's Telecom High. I'm not going to mess with it. I certainly don't mind doing that because it's very instructional. You say, well, but ICs, you get paid a lot of money for ICs. Yeah, you do. ICs go for $8 a pound right now from Board Sort. But when you downgrade that bigger board, you're actually losing the value. So it's important to always kind of keep that math in mind when you're working through those kind of things. Dean, welcome to the channel. Hey, Sharky, just took a load of wire in, got $697. Holy bajoli, man. That's a good haul, Dean. Was it all number two? Was it a mix of 1 and 2 insulated? Yeah, that's a serious haul, man. Awesome. Yeah, Seth, I'm kind of getting a little shaggy back here. I'm gonna have to work on the haircut, man. I told my wife I told her, I said, look, I got to go get a haircut this week. This is driving me nuts. So she's actually going to make an appointment with her beautician to do my hair. This is the first time in my life I've ever had to go to someone and say something other than number 2 all around. Okay, so let's talk some trash. You all know how much we love talking trash, but in this case, I mean trash stocks. Now, for those of you that might be new to the live stream, oh, wait a minute, before we get in here, Dean answered the question. Dean said 3.3 a pound, mix of mostly number 1. Okay, cool beans. All right. For those of you that are new here, I get my stock data from the Value Line Investment Survey. They do not accept advertising. So all of this information is straight numbers and analysis of numbers without any bias to make an advertiser happy. I am a boring investor. I'm mostly interested in dividends. And I have 3 criteria that I use before I even consider investing in a company. Those criteria are that they have to have positive cash flow per share for 17 years. That's year over year. Positive earnings per share every year for 17 years, and positive dividends per share for 17 years. Now, they only have to have one of those 3, but because I'm mostly interested in dividends, I put most of my emphasis on the dividends per share. So this week's issue of Value Line, one of the industries they were looking at is the waste, they call it environmental industry. I kind of call it the trash industry. And it's interesting that that there were 2 of the companies that they evaluated that met my criteria. So that's kind of cool. You know, a lot of us kind of deal with the trash companies because they're sort of, you know, we're out there street scrapping and they're out there picking stuff up, or you know, we sometimes have a not, you know, it's like they're taking my stuff, and of course that's not the way we should look at it. They've got a job to do. I have tried to develop a decent relationship with the trash guys, but because of the way they work it here in the neighborhoods that I do, you never know who's going to be driving the truck on any particular pickup day. And so some of them are really friendly and really cool. I've even had them help me load stuff in the truck every once in a while. Sometimes they're just like, yeah, whatever, man, you know, just don't get in my way and I'm good. So the waste companies, you know, and I, you know, this is going to be different in every state. A lot of times in the counties within the state, with, you know, in the U.S., internationally, all of these laws are very different on trash, you know, and working with trash companies and stuff. All right, so let's get right over to the first waste company that we're going to be talking about, Republic Services. Now, I'm going to make some notes right out of the Value Line Investment Survey so that you understand. Republic Services is one of the largest non-hazardous solid waste companies in the United States, providing collection, processing, recycling, and disposal services. You know, a lot of times we don't realize that these companies are also doing recycling, just like we are. The company owns and operates 198 solid waste landfills, 239 transfer stations, and 71 recycling facilities. I'm a little behind. I got a lot of catching up to do to get up to their level of operation, huh? Me and the Sharkmobile. Oh man. All right, now. So We can see here that unlike a lot of the companies that we've looked at so far, Republic is actually qualified for the cash flow per year because they only had this one down year here. So they're what we call a CF1 right there, a CF1. They had one hit. They are a Div 0 because, as we can see, they have been in every year for the last 17 years increasing their profit per their dividend per share. However, 1.6%, yeah, it's on $123.89, but still it's only 1.6%. So that's not much of a dividend to get terribly excited about. Now, there are a lot of other reasons that people invest in companies beyond just dividends, So for some people, they're looking for a company that's going to continue to grow, that they have confidence the value of the stock is going to increase. And, this is one of those companies that are moderately recession proof. Even during COVID, they were an essential operation, so they were still operating, So I'm not going to buy, but I bring these things up because these are companies that operate in the same world that we do on a regular basis. So I think it's important to see how they are doing. And they're doing pretty good. If they can take care of their investors that way and their cash flow keeps increasing year over year, then yeah, that says that maybe we're all kind of doing the right thing here, being in the, well, we're not trash business, but in the recycling business. All right, the next waste company that we're going to talk about is another one of the big companies here in America, Waste Management. Waste Management, between Republic and Waste Management, you pretty much see their trucks everywhere. So Waste Management is North America's largest provider of comprehensive waste management environmental services. It serves residential, commercial, industrial, and municipal customers. Let's see, how many do they have? They have 255 landfills, 96 metal recovery facilities, 340 transfer stations. So, again, I've got some work to do. I think we all have some work to do. We're not competing with these guys, are we? Oh man. If we look at the company here, we can see that they are not qualified by cash flow per share. They had 2 down years. They had these 3 down in the earnings per share, but they are qualified here in the dividends as what we call a Div 0. Why? Because if you look right here now, this actually brings up a good point, so I'm glad that we're going to talk about this. Right here, you see 2023 to 2024, no change. All right, what's going on here is this is the analysis portion of what the Value Line Investment Survey does. They look at the company, they look at the industry, they look at what's going on in the world, and they say, what do we expect them to do next year? So this helps when people are, thinking about their long-term forecasts with companies. And it shows here because it's in bold, which means they haven't closed the book on 2023, obviously, and 2024 is a forecast. Whereas these non-bolded numbers those are locked in. That's what the numbers are. So what they're forecasting is that they're not going to raise the dividend next year, and that's okay. We allow one flat year for dividend per share, but they could very well raise it. They might have a better year than forecasted, and the rate will go up. They have historically raised the rates. If we look, graphically, we can see that they have increase the rates, going forward. We just forecasted to be flat here. So, and then this is what the year-to-year change looks like. So that dividend bar that gold bar is always above the zero line. So, they're qualified. Now, again, we've got to ask ourselves if it's worth it, though, because you've got 1.7%, and that's $152 a share. So very expensive stock. You're not getting a whole lot of return out of it. So again, I'm not going to invest in these guys. It doesn't meet my criteria of being anywhere near 4% dividend, but it does show us that that the trash companies they're doing okay. So that helps us to understand that, you know what, we can do okay as well. Excuse me, just a second here. The other thing, and the reason why, even though I'm not recommending, not that me recommending, I'm not a financial advisor, I'm not a licensed money person, so I just share this analysis with you. It's what I learned when I was working on my MBA, and I like to share it with folks. So you've got a lot of other research, and you all have other reasons that you would use if you invest in any of the companies that I suggest. But the reason I wanted to talk about the trash companies is because what we do is very volume dependent when you think about it, right? There are some of you out there who are in businesses that put scrap right in front of you. And you have, you're an electrician, you're a plumber, you've got a lot of scrap material, so you have that turnover. New people in this business, they're like, God, how can I make more money? How can I make more money? It's about volume, right? It's volume. And that the way you're going to accomplish volume is you're either going to be doing it every day, bang, 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 in a smaller vehicle by yourself, or you're going to get bigger vehicle. Still by yourself means you got to be turning and burning almost every day, or you get a bigger vehicle and you start hiring people, because that way, you're processing scrap as you're gathering stuff and you're turning it. And eventually you get to where you have 255 locations in, well, no, I don't think any of us are ever going to have 255 locations. Come on, let's get real. But the point is that volume is very important in this business if you're going to do it as a business. So when we look at the scrap world as small businesses or just, a hobbyist, we've got to understand that, it's about volume. We've got to keep turning stuff if we're going to be able to make any kind of serious money in this game. This is a very good point. I wonder, is that KDOCAC, KDOCAC? I wonder, KDOCAC? Anyway, very good point here. Space becomes a big challenge for folks. When I was doing this as a hobby, I was operating out of my garage. And some of you have been with me long enough that you've seen the state of my garage when I was operating out of there. I would have to take stuff out of the garage in order to scrap stuff and then put it back in the garage. Now I'm doing it professionally, so I'm leasing a space. I've got more room, and yet I'm still running out of room sometimes. Right now is one of those cases. The shark cage is really jammed up right now with a lot of stuff. So yeah, space becomes a huge issue. Stay smaller, go large, no happy medium. Man, I tell you what, Earl, you got it. That is so true, right? Yeah, it's like, because going large, man, that requires money. That requires some serious capital investment, right? Forklifts are not cheap. Bigger vehicles are not cheap. None of this stuff is cheap. So either stay small and be happy with where you're at, or be ready to make the investment necessary to go large. Absolutely, man. I couldn't agree with you more. All right, so now it is time to talk about an issue that is of great importance to all of us. Whether you are a YouTube creator or a consumer of YouTube products, there's a court case going before the Supreme Court that has the potential to make things interesting for us. It's so interesting that I'm keeping a notebook on things associated with it. All right, so I got a bunch of notes that I've taken down from a number of sources here. Some of this might sound a little bit dry, but it's important that we understand what's going on. So the first thing is, it's called Section 230. It's part of Title 47 U.S. Code. It was enacted as part of the Communications Decency Act of 1996. And yes, I'm reading some notes here because I don't want to get this wrong. It generally provides immunity for website platforms with respect to third-party content. So the people like Google have maintained that this was very important for allowing the internet to become what it has become, because they can't be sued for third-party content. Now, there's a case that the Supreme Court will be hearing oral arguments for this week. It's called Gonzalez versus Google. The case is being brought by the Gonzalez family, whose 23-year-old Naomi Gonzalez was one of 130 people who were killed in a 2015 terrorist attack in Paris. The Gonzalez family is saying that Google, who you all know owns YouTube, Google algorithm unlawfully recommended and I'm not going to say the name of the terrorist organization, so I'm just going to keep referring to them as a terrorist organization. So it recommended the terrorist videos, sold ads on that content, and helped extremists recruit and radicalize other people. So they're saying that Google, you're responsible for one of our family members being killed. Now, Google, of course, is saying you can't sue us because of of Section 230. This has worked its way up through the courts, and it's now before the U.S. Supreme Court to hear. So what we're going to see happen is you're going to have oral arguments, and then there's going to be a process of, the Supreme Court looking through applicable law and precedent and weighing pros and cons and eventually making a decision on what the outcome is going to be. And there are a lot of people out there who are saying, if the Supreme Court sides with the Gonzalez family and allows Google to be sued for algorithm for content that is put before people, that it's going to open the floodgates to litigation against every platform out there that uses any sort of algorithm to recommend content to its viewers. And that pretty much includes every social media platform that's out there, right? So this, and this is tough. This is a tough one. I want to go through just a few of the notes that I've written down here, because there's no easy answers here, right? I mean, so first of all, both the Dems and the Republicans have had their issues with 230 over the years. So it's not like there's one political party against another political party on this one. They've all got their issues with it. There are other cases that are out there that are related but are different, that will complicate the answer. All right, so there's Twitter versus Tamai, which essentially is creating like a catch-22, because it says that if a company moderates any content, they are accepting the fact that they know that there is bad content or dangerous content on their platform. So it's like, if you if you moderate, you're just basically saying, yeah, we know there's stuff out there. So that means you got to moderate everything. Well, do you really need to moderate everything? And then there are challenges to some laws that Florida and Texas have put forward that say that services should be required to host more content of certain kinds. Now, these laws seek to prevent platforms from discriminating their services based on their viewpoint. And the plaintiffs in this case, they're arguing that it violates the business's First Amendment rights. Essentially, the states are trying to say, Google, Twitter, whatever social media platform, you've got to put up everything, whether you like it or not, whether it violates your terms of services, you still have to do it. Okay. And look, this is hard. Okay. Think about it. Here in America and in most of the developed countries of the world, you have this, the concept of free speech. And here in America, free speech, First Amendment, it's a huge issue for us. But it's hard because how do you protect both the right for someone to speak freely and the right to not be harassed or be free from discrimination? So this gets really complicated. And then let's layer on top of this, you've got competing cases now where, depending upon the outcome of one case, it could essentially make another situation completely illegal. So here's an example. Let's say Platform X. They have to, let's say, these laws go through. Platform X is forced to put up content that violates their terms of services. They don't like that content, but they have no choice. They have to put it up there. But then somebody uses that content and goes and hurts somebody else, and now they're getting sued because they put content up that they had no choice but to put the content up. You can see how convoluted this can get really fast. So yeah, it gets weird. It's going to get weird. And then the other thing that Google in particular is saying is, look, these algorithms aren't just about making money. They're not just a way for us to push content in front of people that they like to see. Yes, that's what they do, but the algorithms organize all of this complex information that's out there on the internet to make it easier for people to find. So there are implications for the very way that the internet functions, depending upon the results of the Supreme Court case. So yeah, this is going to be a dicey, ugly, it's going to be weird, right? Because and how would I can't even imagine what it must be like to be one of these judges on the Supreme Court, because you're sitting there, you're looking at this case and you're thinking, okay, if we do this, then we've got this, this, and this that could happen. If we do this, then we've got this, this, and this that could happen. Man, this is, there's some serious tough implications. All right. So, and what does that mean for us as both consumers and creators of content? Well, I mean, certainly there's the potential that Google, if they lose this case and they wind up getting sued, Google could probably afford to deal with some lawsuits for a while, but they're going to start getting, much stricter with content that comes up. Some of the sources that I read have suggested that the result would be that only large verified commercial entities would be able to put up content, because then Google could share the liability with them. And folks like you and I, the small creators that are out there, Google could shut us down saying, yeah, no, you're too much of a risk. You're too much of a liability and you can't afford to defend yourself. Yeah, that's going to be a tough one too. And then, and then there's other sources that I've read that are saying, well, Google is a big company. They're a smart company. They have a lot of smart engineers. So, maybe what they'll do is they'll just put like a little caveat on there that says, every time you log into YouTube, it'll say, do you agree to take moderated content? Do you agree to take content provided by the algorithm? Something like that is another potential for the way this can play out. I'm not really planning on getting too excited about this. I'm going to keep paying attention to it, of course, because this is really important stuff for us. It could have implications for how YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, all the social media activities work, and therefore how a lot of us do our business. So we've really got to think, I recommend just paying attention. The other thing is there's very little that we can do about this. It's not like any of us can write to our senator or congressman and influence a decision that's going to get made because, this is up before the Supreme Court. And as I stated in the very beginning, both the Republicans and the Democrats have had issues with Section 230 anyway. So it's really kind of challenging to see how this one is going to occur. My gut feeling is it's going to figure itself out somehow. Worst case scenario, the Supreme Court says, yes, they can, they're going to be liable. And then, the social media platforms enact some sort of challenge step that says, yes, I accept this stuff. And that allows you to keep using it. And you can't sue them because you've said you're not going to sue them. Man, just think about that. We already have to read through 100 pages of legalese when we sign on to things, and now it's probably going to be 200 pages of legalese before we sign on. Before you click that little box that says, yes, I accept these terms and conditions. So I'm curious how many of you have seen or heard any of these discussions about this Section 230, this Gonzalez versus Google, and if you've heard any other positions or concerns out there that I haven't discussed yet that we want to bring up here in the last few minutes of our session today, or if you want me to go back and review that board again. I know that probably Scrapping Irish wants to see that board again. He really likes that. He's not much for gold, that Scrapping Irish guy, but he what do you think, Scrapping Irish? What do you think? You like that? You like that? But Scrapping Irish, before you can like this board, I'm going to send you a 100-page document that says you're not going to sue me because I took the ICs off of this board. Oh, man. All right, so let's see here. Oh, man. Roger says the most common lie in the world. Yes, I have read and agreed to the terms and conditions. Oh, I heard a really funny joke the other day. It's like the shortest sentence in the English language is I am, and the longest sentence in the English language is I do. I had to make sure Mrs. Shark didn't hear me say that. Yeah, hey, Raphael, you missed that part. We talked about that before I saw you pop in, so let me go through the numbers again real quick for you. So the board was fully populated when I got it, and then Roger wasn't the only person. I had a few other people that asked a question about what happened. What about if you take the chips off? And so I did that experiment, and with all the chips on here, the board weighed 3.71 pounds. So as a Telecom High I got $22.26 for the board. And when I removed the chips, it lowered the board to a Telecom low. So it weighed a little bit less, but it was only worth $12.20 as a Telecom low. And the chips themselves, even though they get bought at $8 a pound, they were only worth $5.28. So the total value was $17.48. So I lost money taking the chips. Now I did this as an experiment, just to be able to respond to some questions and let Geek Shark have some fun doing some math. So yeah, you're spot on. You're spot on there, Raphael. Sometimes we lose value when we do those kind of things. But in some cases, you don't have any choice, right? There's some of you out there that you don't have a boardsort.com that you can sell to. So you have no choice but to take this stuff off and try to process the material yourself or sell it to somebody that is willing to buy the piece parts and not all the stuff. Oh, yeah. Hey, yeah. Plus, I spent time doing it, right? So about let's see, where did I write it down here? So about 10 minutes. I got pretty good. I figured out a way to get a little screwdriver to slide right across there and pop those things off. But it was almost 10 minutes. Probably would have been faster if I'd known that trick when I first got started. It took me a couple of rows to get the rhythm down just right to pop those things off. But yeah, so I spent 10 minutes losing money. So yeah, that's really bad math. That's not the way the math should go. Oh man. Yeah, plastic. Man, I tell you what, that's a frustrating one. I used to have a guy here that would buy my ABS plastic. And those of you that have been doing this, computers and electronics, that a lot of times the actual shell is ABS plastic. A lot of ABS plastic, it's marked accordingly. And so that was really cool because I'd take over a whole truckload of stuff to him, right? Well, then he went out of business. So I don't have any place to sell my plastic. And that just, God, it just hurts my soul throwing all that plastic in the trash because I just haven't been able to find anyone yet to buy the plastic. So yeah, I mean, if anybody out there is here in the US and a plastic buyer, please let me know if there's a way that I can figure out how to make it work. I would much prefer to sell that buyer to someone than than just throwing it away. Simon, you could true recycle the board to deep level and see the outcome. Yeah, and I'm not exactly sure what you mean deep level. If you're referring to, taking everything off of it. But this is as far as I'm going to go. I'm just going to, it'll get sold as a Telecom low. Because I end up getting enough Telecom high, Telecom low that that I can go ahead and throw it in with my Telecom low. It was a good experiment, but I'm not going to spend any more time doing that. I got plenty of other things that I need to spend my time on. I try to get the family to switch away from plastics as much as possible. Yeah, I hear you, Kevin. I hear you, man. It's funny when I go to the store and look and get my Coca-Cola. Yeah, I know some of you have an issue with Coca-Cola. It's one of my guilty pleasures, but I only buy it in aluminum cans because I can recycle the aluminum cans. So I don't buy, even though sometimes it's cheaper for me to get Coke in plastic bottles. I get it in the cans, and usually what'll happen is they'll have a sale at the store where buy two get one free, buy one get one free. So I always look for those sales with the cans, and then I stock up for a while so that I can, just have the aluminum cans to go with. Yeah, plastic recycling, it's basically what plastic recycling is turning plastic into other plastic. And that's fine because at least that way it's not going in the landfills, right? But we haven't really recycled. Well, I guess, yeah, I mean, because we do that with aluminum cans too, right? We take aluminum cans, they become aluminum cans. So if plastic becomes other plastic and it doesn't go in the trash, then I guess that is recycling. And so we might as well keep pushing with that, right? Well, listen, guys, it is time to wrap this up. It has been a blast. Thank you all very much. I've enjoyed the time together. Remember, if you have autoplay enabled when I end this stream, it's going to take you right over to Scrapping Irish's live stream. If you do not have autoplay enabled, you will maybe get a link to suggest that you go over there. Otherwise, go ahead and check out Scrapping Irish's live stream. I look forward to seeing everybody over there, and have a great day.